Indebted South Africans can breathe a sigh of relief. The Reserve Bank has kept the repo rate at 8.25%. But Governor Lesetja Kganyago has struck a hawkish tone, warning of risks ahead. That's after October's inflation reading surprised to the upside, coming in at 5.9%. The latest print marked the third month running of inflation acceleration, pushed higher by food and fuel price increases. The bank targets inflation of 3 to 6%, but prefers to have the rate anchored at the midpoint of that range.
The uptick in inflation is unwelcome, but we had highlighted that there were risks to the inflation outlook and that they are on the upside, and we saw that occurring. But again, in the same manner that we were surprised by inflation going down to 4.7%, and we said we can't respond to that, we also can't be responding to an uptick in inflation. What is important for you to note is the trajectory of the forecast, that we are still expecting that inflation this year will come out at 5.8%, which is marginally lower than what we were thinking at the time of the previous meeting, even if it is by just 0.1%. The point here is that you cannot respond to monthly figures. You have got to respond to what you see within the policy horizon. We still assess, even after that figure, that the risks to the inflation outlook are to the upside. And should we think that these risks might materialize, we stand ready to recalibrate policy to make sure that we bring inflation down to the midpoint of the inflation target range.
Mr. Price has failed to ring up profits. Instead, the fashion retailer has bagged a more than 9% decline in half-year headline earnings per share. That's as it battled the impact of load shedding and cash-strapped consumers. The firm estimates that it lost 60,000 hours of trading due to blackouts during its interim period, and that's equivalent to losing about 190 million rand in revenue. That's at a time when shoppers are having to grapple with high inflation and interest rate hikes, which put pressure on their disposable income. Mr. Price expects this trend to continue in 2024. KAL Group has reported a rise in annual profit. Recurring headline earnings per share rose 7.2%, but this growth could have been more. The agriculture-focused firm previously known as KAL Agri says rolling power cuts ate a big piece of its pie. It estimates that load shedding led to a loss of about 140 million rand in sales. The blackouts costed 63 million rand in direct costs and an extra 24 million rand in extra capital expenditure. And so if the power cuts weren't a factor during the year, KAL says growth in recurring headline earnings per share could have been 5.9% higher. A total dividend of R1.80 has been declared. This reflects a rise of 7%. SPAR has warned of a profit hit. The grocer expects headline earnings per share for the full year to be between 43 and 53% lower. This is as a result of a number of factors. Among them is the unsuccessful launch of SPAR's new ERP IT system at its KwaZulu-Natal distribution center. That severely impacted the group's trading performance and caused a loss of turnover estimated at 1.6 billion rand. Other factors include further impairments to business assets, higher net finance costs, and significant inflationary cost increases. SPAR will present its results to the market on the 30th of November. And there's trouble in crypto land. That's as the largest crypto exchange, Binance, recorded outflows amounting to more than $1 billion in the past 24 hours. Let's check in with our reporter Ndaleng Lachela and the DW team for more.
You're absolutely right. Now, the outflows happened after the company's CEO had to step down over accusations of Binance dealing in illegal businesses. And joining me now as we unpack the matter further is DW correspondent Lars Halter. Thanks for your time today. Now, Lars, just walk us through the problem Binance is currently facing.
Yeah, thanks for having me. On our short answer, Binance is said to have broken U.S. anti-money laundering laws, and for that it will have to pay a $4.3 billion settlement. But money laundering, of course, is a rather technical term, and the real shocker is in the details. Binance apparently booked, but did obviously not disclose, 100,000 suspicious transactions with organizations commonly seen as terrorist groups, including Hamas, Al-Qaeda, and the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. And as if that's not terrible enough, they also booked and never reported transactions with websites devoted to selling child sexual abuse materials, and they did business with firms that specialized in ransomware. So it seems hard to come up with a crime that Binance, as the world's largest crypto exchange, has not helped finance. The company pretty much provided the infrastructure for many of these crimes to even pay off. Let me quote the U.S. Attorney General here. He says, Binance made it easy for criminals to move their stolen funds and illicit proceeds on its exchanges.
And Lars, what does this mean for the future of the exchange?
Well, first and foremost, Binance will have to pay those $4.3 billion, as I've mentioned. But that's got to hurt, of course. But the company says that it can take that blow. The new CEO, Richard Teng, who has been with Binance for years as well, he says that the company's focus would now be on, quote, reassuring users that they can remain confident in the financial strength, security, and safety of the company. Well, just hours after he said that, however, we've seen outflows now of over $950 million. Yes, like you said, that's almost $1 billion. So apparently there is a lot of doubt and insecurity amongst investors here, likely because it seems clear that the company will have a hard time cleaning up their act. There will have to be stricter controls on all transactions, and those won't be easy to do because, and that's also an insight we gained from the Binance investigation, it seems that terrorist groups, for example, usually send small sums of money, as those transactions are much better to hide, whereas large sum transactions are obviously easier to spot. So the task ahead is definitely a difficult one for Binance.
Now, Lars, surely this move impacts the crypto market.
Actually, not much, it seems. Right after the story broke, Bitcoin was up, and that main cryptocurrency has been doing pretty well recently anyway. It's been hovering right under $40,000. That's the highest in over a year. And it's interesting how the currency itself seems to be completely insulated from the businesses the platforms are doing, which is, of course, by design. So this Binance story doesn't bother Bitcoin investors. Neither did the FTX scandal around Sam Bankman-Fried, of course. There's trouble on some of those platforms, but crypto in general is doing quite well.
Quite surprising to see. Now, thanks for your time and those insights. That was Lars Halter from Deutsche Welle.